I am Wendy Mitchell, the chief everything of the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation. This is my friend Alan. He's a bear. I have been operating the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation for more than 10 years. I got a whole bunch of stuffed animals from thrift stores and cleaned them up. I decided I would put them up for adoption. I do a lot of surgeries. We have children, we have adults, people of all ages. For a long time, my real art was writing songs. And I played a lot of music and I wrote a lot of songs. It felt important at the time, or it felt right. At some point, it occurred to me that my indie rock world was just not gonna reach as many people as I want. I don't think any of this was conscious. Basically, songwriting is really depressing, and especially the type of songwriting that I like to do. And I think it was right around the time that I kind of stopped writing songs that I started the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation. When you write something as a stuffed animal, people are more apt to read it and to care about it. It seemed like there was potential accidentally to maybe express things that I would have expressed through songwriting, but in a way that was accidentally approachable for a whole lot more people. But what's happened is this sort of weird journey where I started out being very serious about these very serious things, these very serious songs, and I've ended up being very playful. I guess I've gotten older and realized that it's kind of important to me to reach people that are not necessarily the people that I would have reached playing indie rock music.
Welcome back, Journeyers. As always, it is our honor to be part of your improv journey. We are exploring the themes that show up in your life, from bravery to community, relationships to your inner self. We are using improv to help you connect to yourself and others. The journey guides for this evening are here to help you connect. Feel free to participate at any level that is comfortable for you. Our journey guides may ask you for a suggestion, a comment, or a reflection. Please put those in the chat. As our scientist explores the theme, let us know how it shows up in your life. Participate with us during our drama therapist session. As always, as our special guest, we have a journeyer just like you, a non-improviser who will need your support, your cheers, your laughter, and reflection. Welcome back, journeyer. You've grown.
Your family is like an experiment that's constantly going on. So it's always this ample source of like seeing people move through different stages of their life. And then, Genevieve and I have been together for 20 years now. So that's part of it as well, is that it's just this endless supply of stories of you were this way and now you're this way, and kind of compounding on each other forever.
I wonder if that is I wonder how existential that is to watch your family. I mean, I also have a family, but to watch your family go through that and then and have judgment about it, have
Mm-hmm.
like a say and you want to say, but the thing is you can't you're also having to judge yourself. Like you have to turn that judgment internally.
Yeah, it's reflexive, right? Yeah, you notice in someone else, and you can notice the change in yourself. And then,
Mhm.
but yeah, just as you said, like I always feel like a we are a lot more tolerant of our like bad habits, but a lot less tolerant of like a long view of our life, and the opposite with other people. That like
Mm.
we uh, are always like, ah, they did it for bad intentions, but over time you allow other people to be who they are because you're not in charge of them. Whereas
Mm.
internally, and maybe that's projection. That's just how it feels to me. That's the difference from the inside and outside when you make a change.
I love it. As a journey guide, as you and I are journey guiding and
Yes.
leading and guiding people through this discussion that we're having about transitions, we can say hi to all the journeyers.
Hey,
Welcome. And we're
Juniors.
so happy to have you right in the middle, right in the middle of us talking about transitions. Actually, we're almost right at the end. We're actually sort of at the end of talking about transitions, only because this has been a month of transition for on and off the stage, on and off the show. And we've had so many discussions, Aaron, talking about transitions, helping other people transition, which is sort of what you're underlying. There's some underlying feeling, right? Helping other people transition, however that looks, whether it's from relationships, whether it's from jobs, whatever it is. We've talked about ourselves transitioning, and we're talking about that now. I'm wondering if there's anything like that you, the journeyer, are transitioning through. I know some people are transitioning through moves. I know some people are transitioning through jobs. My sister is, and how that's making you feel. So put wherever you are, put that in the chat. Anything else you want to just like meat about, like chew on, that kind of meat, not meat. Aaron.
Oh, I was gonna say it's if it's not yet the beginning of school for you and where you live, it should be roughly right in the northern hemisphere. And I don't know, but that's fall school starting. That is kind of like a giant red flag neon sign of transition, right? We have
Yeah.
this instinctual. We're trained to have this instinctual feeling at this time of year. because we know we're about to begin something new. So even when we're long out of school, we still have that feeling, I think. So it's a
It's
good time for it.
yes, it's so true. There are that that feeling that sticks with you all the rest of your life is something to be aware of, right? Because it sits with us, because we have sort of tools that we don't know that we have to get through these transitions. It's if we can remember them later on, long after school, uh after it becomes special. Can I make it? It's an after school special. It's a
It's an
way
after
down
school
the
special. You did it
line.
right there.
It becomes something that you can lean up against. And
Mhm.
I think that if we play our cards right, we can go to the lab and
Yeah.
talk about the actual tools, like talk about those tools and how to frame transition as we're getting older, and even maybe for other people, for the younger ones.
Oh, yeah, let's go to the lab.
Let's do it.
Hey, hey, welcome to the lab. I'm so glad to see your faces.
Thank
Emily,
you,
yours
Emily.
too.
Hey, so we're here to talk about transitions in a kind of behavioral objective way. Uh,
Mhm.
that's my gig, talk about things in a behavioral way.
I
So
mean, yeah, it's important to name the things, Aaron and I can put it on stage, but before we get up on there, let's like name what we're talking about and what we're feeling.
let's do it.
Mhm.
So let's talk about some transitions. Let's go to my slides. And when we pull them up, we're also going to meet the rest of our team for tonight. Uh, so we are going to say hi in just a minute to our journeyer, J.M. Pedini, and our drama therapist, Luke Wallins. As soon as my slides come up, we'll see all their faces.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But before they show up on here, what are some things that you've been just noticing? What are some things that you've been poking at as far as transition goes?
Um, a lot of things. I've been thinking a lot. I feel like, for the past couple of months, I've talked a lot about how I'm pregnant now and growing a human. So I'm currently in like one of the bigger life transitions y'all can have in your life. Because I'm 3D printing a creature inside of me. And so I've been thinking a lot about this uncomfortable space between the before and the after, and how this is an interesting time to explore where I'm kind of waiting and preparing, but I'm not quite there. I'm in the transitional space right now.
Mm.
Yeah, one of our journeyers loves the word liminal space. Charlotte, shout out to Charlotte, who's been to like all of our stuff, who is always talking about loving liminal spaces. So I feel like that is a perfect example of a liminal space.
Right. And so hey everyone, welcome to the party. We're all here. Uh, so let's dive in. And actually, I'm going to dive in head first. My job here is to define our themes, and I'm defining transitions this month exactly the way that I just said it. So we're going to focus in terms of transitions, that liminal space, that period of change that's between one environmental condition to another one, right? And when, as a behaviorist, when I say environment, it doesn't necessarily, like, it can mean literally you're outside, the sunshine to clouds. It could mean you literally moving, bopping from, like, when I go from Richmond to Texas or vice versa. But when we're thinking about our environment, that could also be the inside of our bodies, right? Um, our internal body environment. So growing a human, or being sick, or when you're going through puberty, or any of those things where part of your body is changing. Uh, are there any other transitions? While we meet JM and Luke are here, do y'all have any transitions y'all are going through or working on right now? Go ahead, JM.
Well, since you brought up my job, because of my job, we're in a sort of transitional space here in Virginia. Um, Prior to 2021, cannabis possession was not legal. And after July 1, 2021, it became legal. Now it's legal to possess it, but it's not legal to buy it yet. So we're in that sort of transitional space that comes with the enactment of these types of laws where we've done part of it. We're not all the way there yet. So
Right, exactly. My pregnancy brain doesn't know if I said with my out loud voice to the journeyers that you are the driving force of marijuana legislation in Virginia. We told our team, I don't know if I've said it with my listen. Y'all, pregnancy's wild. And so yeah, we don't know what we're doing. I know that like there are state departments that are wonky, and you don't know, and that's really cool that you're manning that or personing that. Luke, what do you got going on?
Ooh, well, it's speaking of jobs, just a career change. About like, okay, cool. I've come away from one job for a long that I've been working there for about 4 years, and I'm going on to search for a new job, but also like looking at like different factors and different values that I can bring to the table, and which ones do I want to pursue next, or like what values am I discovering about myself that I can apply. So
Beautiful. Perfect. So I want to focus, or actually, here's what I think about when I think about transitions. So this is this is a graph from a journal article. Shannon's been like, "Girl, bring your brain into this."
Yes.
And so this is an oldie. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an oldie, but a goodie, which is a whole other. You can DM me afterwards and we can talk about like the ethics of my field over the past like 30, 40 years. But this is a study on an analysis of an individual transitioning from activities and spaces within their residential care facility, and how often they engaged in self-injurious behavior when observed transitioning from space to space. And so when I think of transitions, this is kind of literally what I think about. And this is a study, this is an assessment that I've modeled multiple times throughout my career, with different levels of modalities that are honestly a little more ethically okay than this one. And what this wound up showing is that what it's essentially saying down on the bottom, those like the full gray bars and then the labels on the bottom are saying that regardless of whether an activity was introduced or denied, introduced is the plus, or not denied, removed, like ended, is the minus. This individual was having a lot of challenge, was physically moving throughout the space and not really having too much of a challenge with just like when something's just introduced, except for like when leisure was terminated or like social time was terminated or he was asked to wipe the table. But for the most part, it was physically moving. One of the not fun ethical things back here is that what they observed was that this is an individual who did not have a lot of communication skills and was in a wheelchair and was getting moved around, not necessarily with his consent, and probably definitely not with his consent, as you can see by the fact that he was hurting himself when he was being moved. So that kind of inspires me for tonight's. What I want to talk about is transitions that we don't want to do, transitions we're not stoked on, right? We look at a thing and we're like, no, you know what I don't want to do? That. And some things are like that. I was just complaining about my pregnancy brain. This transitional space is weird, and I'm not a huge fan of this activity of transitioning. Anything else that y'all can think of that's like not necessarily not a great transition you like to go through?
I mean, the easy ones that come up are like, I mean, I've been divorced, and that wasn't fun. That's not a fun transition. And things like just any sort of loss, right? From deep loss to things like loss of job or um, things like that. But things that are unexpected, those types of transitions are just, I don't, no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, no thanks. Not stoked on it. And in the chat, feel free to let us know if you have had any things that you've been going through, or if you think of like anything that you're like, no, not really a fan of this like liminal space, this transition space. So I want to talk about that a little bit. And for a lot of times, when we are in a transition space, because there's going to be, it's by definition, the time between two environmental stimuli, there's something on the other side, right? And so, in this example, sometimes you go through something and there's something cool on the other side, right? An example is, again, my pregnancy. I'm super excited about having a kid. Uh, so like the outcome, very cool. Anyone have like a transition? Oh, Charlotte in the chat says like she's getting used to living in a new city. So something like that. You've moved to a new city. You're excited to live in a new city, but maybe the like growing pains of being there a little tough, right? And JM, we were talking about the marijuana legislation, right? Like, we're excited to have like legalized legalized marijuana for a lot of reasons, but we're having a lot of growing pains in Virginia right now because of that, right? But once we can like knock that out, figure out how how it's going to be able to be legally sold, figure out how we can like expunge records, all of those things, then we'll be on a good, better side. Ooh, and someone, oh, is this your sister in the chat, Shannon?
Yeah, that's
Talking about her
Maria.
job change. So like her job change and everything's better now. Great. So yeah, so we do have something at the end, and sometimes that helps us get through the transition, right? But if sometimes you get a choice to whether or not you transition. If you're lucky enough that you get a choice about whether or not transition, if it's just like being pressured on you, then maybe you want to look back at like what you have and be like, maybe my bouncy castle's okay. Maybe you can say no to your transition. But you can make that choice if sometimes if you have that choice, right? Obviously not in like if you get dumped or if you get fired kind of situation. But if you're looking at like a job change, you can be like, you can take a second to think about how full of hold your bouncy castle is. Do you want to go through to get to the other one? And so if we're going to go through the transition, I'm going to give you 3 strategies, all right, to go through. One of them is that you are always welcome to choose a different path in your transition, right? If you decide that you don't want that outcome, maybe you don't want a bouncy castle anymore. Maybe you just want to be home and reading books, right? Then isn't this transition a wonderful time for you to decide that? Anyone ever like go through something and think that they wanted something, or like that they would be pressured into something and then choose something totally different? I'm seeing slow nods.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we do it all the time, especially when we don't know what's on the other side. So I like this the slide before that had the person like looking at the scary but can see that there's a bouncy castle on the other side. And sometimes you go through transition, right, and you're like, well, I have to move. I'm not trying to put Luke's business all up on all up and down stuff, but like there was, right, if you don't mind me saying, there was just a moment where you didn't know what was on the other side.
Yeah. And sometimes you're winding through that path, and like especially with a moving situation where you're like, okay, well now I have a couple of options and now I'm going to choose this one. Getting through based on the things that are right for you is important. Choosing that thing that is important to you right? And not just because society says or someone else says or like other people say. The part of the problem with that study that I was talking about earlier is that it was staff who were just like, I'm just going to pull this guy wherever we want to pull him, right? Without him having a say. And we want to be able to have a say in our transitions, where we want to go, right? What we want to be doing, what our outcome is. Charlotte's entire college experience has been kind of like this, where she's like chosen different paths. And so Zaria started a bakery business. You probably didn't think you were doing that the whole time, right? Your second option of ways to help you get through is to what I call gear up and bring your support, right? This can be a long road. So bring your coping strategies with you when it's hard. For those moments where you can't see where you're going, bring support with you. Bring your friends along, maybe, and talk to your therapist, talk to your friends, and of course, fuel yourself, right? Don't forget your snacks. If you're going into the forest, if you're going on a hiking trip, you wouldn't leave your snacks behind. If you're going through a transition, don't leave your snacks.
Don't leave your snacks.
And then the third one is that you can set a pace and take your time for the most part, right? There is no real pressure for the most part. Some things are time sensitive, right? I can't control how long I am pregnant, but like science isn't there yet. But for some of us, we can control and pace out, even if we're like transitioning between jobs, right? If it's possible, if you have the privilege, maybe you can stretch out your money to like extend your search and take your time and really find what you want and find the path that you want. Likewise, our yearly theme this year is community. So you might not be the one going through a transition, but you might be supporting someone going through a transition. Again, going back to that study from before, if the staff were thinking about these things for the client they were working with, we might have had different outcomes, right? We might have a different situation. When you're supporting someone else through a transition, whether it's your children, the people you work with, your friends, your family, your other loved ones, help keep in mind what their choices are and what's important to them, what kind of support they need, and that they can take their time and help them find a pace and a time. So anyone have like stories, anecdotes? I just talked for a long time without asking for an anecdote. Anyone supporting anyone else going through a transition like that?
Well, kind of. I mean, every time my children go back to school, first off, there's the are they consenting? But secondly, it's getting to choose the things they get to choose when they don't have a choice, right? When they have to do some things because they're required by the school, giving them the tools, and sometimes those are gifts and like really like fun tools, like, hey, you get a new backpack, or like, hey, like, we're going to find a fun thing to put in your lunch. But sometimes those tools are, more emotional, like, hey, let's just have a dedicated time for you that we're going to just relax and play after school, or things like that to help you make those changes. And then taking their time is maybe the hardest, right? Because everything is not on a child's schedule.
No, it certainly isn't.
Yeah.
We might be able to find some wiggle room somewhere, right? But like, it's hard. We gotta teach our kids how to be on schedule sometimes. So that is not my transition slide that normally is there, but that's fine. So we into my TED Talk, babies. So now that we've gone through, we've learned about what we can do in transitions we're not really stoked on, how we can support others. What we're going to do now is we're going to see an improvised scene with Shannon and Aaron with all of these things in mind. So let's play.
Whoa there. Whoa there.
Hey.
Is that you, Gregory?
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. It's the nighttime, the night.
I understand.
It's dark.
And Terrifying, terrifying. What are you doing outside the castle?
Well,
Should be inside, Gregory.
I was hunting, is what I was
Ah,
doing.
ah.
Yes, I thought maybe a pheasant or you know what?
Mm.
Forget it. I was running away.
Again? Your parents will be very upset with you, Gregory. And quite frankly, they'll be upset with me too. How did you get out?
There's a hole. There's a hole here.
I guard the hole. I'm the hole guarder.
I know, but you're not good at your job. It's you're not. I
You know
and I
the wound,
understand.
man.
I think that maybe you don't mind if I leave
Well, no, I don't mind at all. It's just my job.
to guard the hole.
Yes, it's my job to guard the hole, but I don't mind that you want to leave, Gregory. We all want to leave the castle occasionally. You're just too young to do it on your own.
No, I'm not too young. I've been in the castle 14 years.
Well, sure, that's great. I've been here for 35. Are we comparing notes? Is this competition? Because I've been guarding this hole for longer than you've been born, Gregory, and quite frankly,
what is it that makes a person ready to leave the castle? If it's not being here 14 years and everyone wants to leave, then what is it?
what is it? It's when your parents, well, not anyone's parents, when your particular parents say that anyone can exit or leave the castle, enter or leave the castle. Your parents are in charge of all of us. That's what, Gregory, you know this. This is what, it's the truth.
I have a bag here, a sack,
Yeah.
as it were.
A satchel. Yeah, sure.
Yes, and inside this sack is food and snacks, and there's elderberries and things that might go on a wound if I scratch myself.
Sure,
I have
sure.
coverings for the snow and a hat for the sun.
Yeah.
I'm ready to leave. I am ready.
Well, Gregory, listen, if I was your father, well, not your father, big and powerful, scary man, but if I had a child like you, I would have let you go long ago. You're so inquisitive and interesting, and I think it would be very valuable for you to go and explore outside the castle.
Well, then I'm gonna go.
No, well, now, see, if you had snuck, I would not be in trouble, except a little bit. But now if I allow you, that's a lot of trouble for me, Gregory. That's a lot of trouble.
And what you're saying is my freedom and my wants are predicated upon what trouble it brings you. The trouble that my life brings you, I should care about.
This is very important. Yes. If one day you will be in charge of this castle, you should know that most of us will not be. And we're very scared of you, and we would like you to maybe consider us before you make your choices.
Listen, just because I'm a prince and my father is the king and my mother is a queen, it doesn't mean that I have to do anything in their footsteps, and I refuse to. I'm taking my satchel and I'm leaving.
Well, hold on. I'm coming with you. Look, if I'm going to be in trouble anyway, I might as well go do the fun thing. We're all going to have fun, right, Gregory? We're not running away just to go and be mundane somewhere. We're going to get into an adventure or a scrape, or have some interesting things happen.
Of course, so
Wonderful.
many scrapes. I have elderberries and things that you can rub on scrapes for healing.
Of all the nitpicks, just real quick, the elderberries, those are for making alcohols. I just want to put it out there, but that's okay. Let's go. Let's have a good time. You're too young to get drunk, but we're going to have a great time, Gregory, you and I.
Follow me in the dark.
Okay, with my eyes on, good.
Follow me in the dark. Follow me
in the dark.
Yeah, you do. So let's debrief. This is the part of the show, Journeyers, where we don't talk about like what happened in the scene, but we're talking about these two humans as improvisers and how we're using our transitional skills in the scene. You obviously took the things that we're talking about. You brought your snacks in the scene, but as improvisers, talk to me about the liminal spaces between, let's say, between beats and
Mm.
details when you weren't sure what's happening. How does that feel? Is that scary or is that comfortable for you?
Well, I think the first one that occurs is that first quick liminal space where you don't quite know who you are yet. I mean, it's improv, so you could always change or be somebody else. But for those first few lines, especially, you're like, are we in fact in a castle? Is Shannon going to say instead that this has been a big play that she and I are putting on because we have funny accents? Like, there's a lot of possibilities that could happen until the agreement kind of, sets in. So that for that first part, you definitely, or at least I definitely felt that. Like, oh, we're transitioning into the scene. It's its own special time.
There's also I'm answering question and then not answering the question. There's something I realized. Oh, clues. There's something about you were talking about bring your support system, Emily. Bring your support systems. And when we have good community, when our community is rich, and in this case, my community is Aaron in playing, the support systems are the clues that he is dropping. So clues like, why are you running away out of the castle? Your father's a powerful person. You're going to be powerful. We're all a little bit scared of you. These are clues that help me understand that transition Shannon Stott from I don't know exactly who I am. I think I'm a cook boy in the castle to actually, oh, I'm the prince. I'm the prince of this castle. That's what's happening because I have these clues. And in off the stage, I feel like you're talking about the same thing. Our community can help us. And I'm thinking about the person supporting the other person. Our community can help us with those types of clues. They can help us with staying in places, give us places to stay, give us things to eat, help give us just clues as to where to go to find jobs, any sort of clue that can help you through a transition. And that, like, on stage, feeling that from Aaron was really helpful.
Yeah. And I want to say that in that, Shannon, you provide a lot of grace because I could just be making mistakes too, but you're interpreting what I'm doing as helping you make choices, helping you provide support to your decisions, and figuring out like the pace and how quickly those decisions happen. Those are all kind of points of view we can overlay into whatever the world on or off the stage is providing us.
I love that because it definitely goes on with that other slide where we have choice, right? The two choices that Emily provided on that slide, where yes, there are lots of choices. Also, the choices in us, it's internal. So yeah, we do have a point of view, and we are overlaying that stuff. So yeah, yes, improv helps us do the things we're trying to do.
Excellent. Well, let's take this even farther off the stage. Let's deep dive a little bit more into how you, Shannon Stott and Aaron Sines, utilize transitions in your life. So let's shuffle over to deep dive with Luke Walton's time.
Ooh.
All right. Yeah. So what was really cool about that scene as well is that like we had like the character of Gregory who had done a lot of work already about who they are and the transition that they wanted to make, and the emotional and mental work to be like, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to go out this. Oh, there's the guard, and so there was a lot of like, okay, this is my decision. I've already made it, and then it looked like the guard needed to come to terms with like what was happening with the transition and still support and still show a lot of support to do that. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, so we're gonna delve in a little bit deeper into things. We're going to demonstrate and explore transitions just a little bit further on the personal side. And to get us started, I kind of want to see, like, with Shannon and Aaron, do you want to explore the transition of either buying a car and or going to a new place, or like back before you're married, like dating somebody new, like what do you think?
I exploring a new place is speaking to me.
Yeah.
For a new place? Cool. Let's do that. Okay. So what we're going to try is we're going to do an exercise that helps build a little bit of emotional and mental reflection on things as we're going along. And journeyers, I invite everybody to throw in different suggestions as we're going along. And journey guides, I was wondering, is it possible to have you both stand up and stand on either side of the lens of the camera?
Yeah, I think so.
Like over here, or like where we can still see us?
But yeah, where we can still see you. Yeah. And basically, what we're gonna, like, the traveling points are just gonna be like within the frame. So you're either gonna travel, to one side or to the other.
There it is.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So no, thank you. So we're going to a new place. And I want to see, like, before, in terms of everyone reacting to going to a new place, how does that, like, what's one factor that we need to think about when we're going to a new place? It could be money, finances. Aaron, what's another factor that could, before we even start to go on the journey?
Knowing where we're going and what we're doing there.
Where we're going. Yeah. And Shannon?
Knowing where we're going and who's going to be there.
Who's going to be there? Okay, cool. All right. So what's going to happen is, let's have, if you feel like positive about that part of knowing where we're going, I would say take a step towards the middle of your camera. If you don't feel positive about it, take a step back, but also still be in camera. So yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And then once you've taken that step, just breathe in that emotion about how you're feeling, and then also show it in your arm movements.
So we're just literally thinking about going to a new place, and for me, I'm thinking about who's going to be there.
Yeah. Who's going to be there? So yeah, just kind of showing it, just making, just breathing into a statue of that. So yeah, who's going to be there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, great. I'll give it a couple seconds. Perfect. Cool. And yeah, stay where you are. And journeyers, I was wondering, as well as Emily and JM, if you have another suggestion of a different factor of going to a new place.
Charlotte in the chat said parking.
Parking. Okay. So if you feel positive about parking, I would say take a step forward and breathe into that emotion. If you feel negative about parking, take a step backwards and breathe into that emotion too. Cool. Okay. Sweet. And let's do one other transition, one other factor about going to a new place.
The food scene.
The food scene. Yes, the food scene. Yeah. Food scene. Positive stepping one way or another. and then breathing into that emotion. Cool. Great. Sweet. Awesome. Okay. And also, I want to see. You guys can shake it off, but stay where you are. Um, and I want to see also what was really cool about the improv scene, and what we've talked about before is that there are points to ask for help. That you can extend and as you're making these transitions, and in our case, going to a new place. And so I want to ask journeyers, what would be a factor that would help them, for example, help them feel more comfortable in the new place that they're going to?
There are people there that you know.
There are people there that you know. Yeah, let's and journey guides. I would love you can breathe or step into another statue, another physicality. Yeah. Cool. Sweet. Yeah. Perfect. That's great. And let's do one other factor that would help our journey guides.
Whitney had said in the chat climate, so I want to honor that by like saying like a desirable climate from where you currently are.
Desirable climate from where you are. Cool. Great. So let's see that.
Yes. Yeah.
We have that. Cool. Wonderful. Great. All right, cool. And yeah, we can shake it off. And all that stuff. We can come back to our chairs. Let's give a round of applause to Shannon.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah, it was really cool. I want to have just a little bit of reflection, and then we can move on. I just want to check in which feelings and emotions came up for you about that experience.
Parking gives me great anxiety, and anxiety is often key in transitions. I think it's the anticipation of a fear rather than the actual fear presenting itself. And as you enter the transition, that's often in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And
The not knowing people, or just who the who is going to be there, but not knowing the who. I don't like that. The anxiety is a good word. Yeah.
And as we know, with all changes, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of things that we don't know that what's going to happen or where it's coming from. At the same time, like there's like the tools that we explored were asking for help when we need it, and having our snacks available, and then also breathing into that emotion too, and being like, you know what, I'm feeling anxious right now. And so you also know you have your emotional snacks, and like where to go from there. And mental snacks. To munch on just a little bit, be like, hey, I need a break right now. I need to breathe. I need to, and then I can come back to this transition. So and then you can go into their next steps, knowing how you need to transition for yourself.
Yeah, there's in that moment, I was thinking about, specifically for like, oh, what can I do? The breathing really helps with becoming aware of like, oh, I'm going through this anxiety, instead of acting through the anxiety. And then it does create a space in your mind. Okay, well, maybe I'll call someone and ask them to meet me there, or who can I go with, or maybe I'll take an Uber instead of parking. Like there's some wiggle room, like you said, with the next steps. There's some help that frees up in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
Also, Luke, I don't know if this is too meta, but there was something about physically moving while discussing an emotional uh, stimuli that made me really appreciate and help me understand the emotion that I was trying to simulate. And I have that in my real life too. Embodying my emotions really helps me identify, adapt, and accept those emotions. So it was really great to have some physicality in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're human beings. We're not human thinking. So we gotta like gotta feel, gotta be. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, definitely.
Well, thank you, Luke. Thank you.
Yay! Thanks, Luke.
You.
This is good
Great job.
because what we're doing is what we've covered really is the on the stage, right? We've done the on the stage, we've talked about the actual steps, the naming of things. Then we're talking about a little bit of the off the stage with the emotion. And we have JM here who is representing, really truly representing the off the stage journeyer. You in the chat, you're being represented by JM today. JM, let's bring you up here. Let's bring a journeyer up here and talk to you about this transition.
Yay, JM Pedini. Hello.
You're doing it. You're here.
I am here.
It's so good to have you. It's really good to have you. Okay, this is what I need. Tell the journeyers who you are, what you actually do, your job title and description.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Shannon.
You're welcome.
I am the development director at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, better known for the past 52 years as NORML. I also happen to live in Virginia, where I serve as the executive director of the state chapter, Virginia NORML. Not only do I have the privilege of changing cannabis policy right here in the Commonwealth, but I provide professional development to those around the country who are trying to do the very same thing, wherever they are.
Yeah. So talk to us about transition specifically, really. Can you talk to us about the emotional transition? I don't want to say of like the whole state, but when you're talking to people, right? When you're talking on a personal level, people going from this should always be illegal to this should be legal. What are you seeing some resistance? What is the resistance that you're coming up against?
So it's new, and a transition. And we'll just couch it in public policy for the sake of this argument. All transitions can be challenging to the individual. We all have our own internal monologue, and that is our truth. That is what we believe. So when someone else comes up to you and says, hey, I know you think this thing, but here's what you should be thinking. That does not comport with what you believe, and so it's really difficult to transition to this new way of thinking. Some of the tools that we use in that is storytelling, and storytelling is fortunately a tool I bring from my past career at Disney, and I never thought that it would have an application in public policy, but if we can properly frame the argument through storytelling in a way that provides an emotional connection to the person whose mind you're trying to change, it's an easier hook. So, for example, one of the first changes we made in Virginia was to allow a very limited use of a very limited scope of medical cannabis for a very limited amount of patients, primarily children with seizure disorders, because it was much easier for a then conservative controlled legislature to connect emotionally with a suffering child. Adults, that's not It's not really sympathetic for everyone. But children, we can all generally understand children. We can imagine the children in our lives suffering and how we would want to stop that. So, telling the story, presenting the data, the information through storytelling in a way that's emotionally compelling helps that individual say, maybe I do care about this. Oh, let me look at this information. Oh, there's data to support this different way of thinking. All right, now I'm ready to transition to this new way of thinking and ultimately this new public policy.
JM, it sounds like a lot of our understanding of the transition is about how an individual person goes through their development or their understanding of a concept. How have you seen that different? Have you seen that expressed differently when it's about a whole state and millions of people making their minds up? Does the group behave differently than the individual?
Yeah, yes. I think that public opinion on a broader scale often can shift faster, and sort of more holistically than those perhaps in a decision making process or position. Virginians had long since decided that they preferred the policy of legalization and regulation over prohibition. And there wasn't much consternation. They sort of naturally, like the rest of America, had access to information, made their own choices, and were there. But then on the individual level, when it comes to the decision makers who can actually make those policy changes, it was a much harder row to hoe.
I am wondering, because we're gonna soon ask you to play a game with us, and I have one more question for you, and that is, can you talk about? We're talking about the people, right? You're sort of giving us, this is what they are going through. This is how I am storytelling to help them go through that. That's reminding me again of Emily's slides, like the support that you're giving other people to pass this, to pass these things. I'm wondering about vulnerability in yourself. What are some things that you have had to be vulnerable about and dig deep inside of you because dealing with transition, watching people and shepherding them through transition? How are you connecting emotionally with them and yourself through all of this?
So I imagine for most people, and I've had other career paths, and it was not until I found myself in this position that I had to be prepared to so regularly answer, why are you here? Why do you do this work? As if, there had to be some special reason. And I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to center myself in a policy debate, which is wholly irrelevant. And even if there were some relevance for myself personally, it doesn't professionally feel appropriate. But there are times where you see them and they want that emotional connection. They want that thing that makes this, like seem okay. And then I sort of have since found a way to tell, the story of why I found myself doing this work. And it is not something that when I'm in a room full of lobbyists, no one is asking them to tell their story. And so there's certainly an amount of vulnerability, not only in telling that story, but I mean, just walking into the Virginia General Assembly, or heck, even Capitol Hill, looking like this, can some days be a challenge for plenty of people that I have to convince.
Well, this is great because now we get to put you in more vulnerable of a spot. We are going to do a game. We're going to play a game. If you don't mind, would you like to play a game with us?
Yes.
Yes.
Consent.
Consent. We're going to play this game. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a regular sort of scene, a make-believe scene that we'll make up on the spot. But these are the things. At any given time, one of us, you, JM, me, or Aaron, one of us either has to be completely in profile, right? Either way, completely in profile, very close to the screen, or just eyes on the screen. Okay, so completely in profile, very close to the screen, eyes or just eyes. We're gonna try and justify that within the scene. We'll try to justify that within the scene. But if you are watching in the chat, you can go, ooh, if two people are doing the same thing. If you're watching Emily and Luke, when we see you, you can also go, ooh, or yell things out to help us. So we're going to need some support in figuring out which one of us is doing which thing. Okay, so with that, let's play.
Yeah.
Well, great job, everyone. Great job. We're gonna make it. We're gonna be at the Grand Canyon in a few minutes, and don't worry about a thing. I just, driving has been my pleasure. I love driving long distances, and I'm glad to do it.
Well, Chris, you're really doing a great job. I appreciate you driving. I mean, you're doing all the work, and it's been great just relaxing back here in the back.
If I had one criticism, a driver, it's that the bumping tends to either throw me to the front of the seat or down very hard in the back of the seat, and it is uncomfortable at times.
Oh, well, that's okay. Don't worry. I let me see if I can see you in the review mirror. Oh yeah, that's the thing. That's what happens is sometimes if you're driving a bumpy road, you got bumpy people in the back. It's bumps, but no lumps.
Well, I think if you would let me drive, I might be a little bit better at. Can I please? I'm gonna grab the wheel.
If you could sit down and buckle your seatbelt, then you wouldn't be bumping all over the place,
I don't even have a license, a commercial or otherwise, and I'm driving the big bus now. This is really great.
Hey! This is not what we do. We don't just hand over the wheel. Not what we do.
Well, we could though. Hey, do you want to take a turn? You want to take a turn? You can take a turn. Here, come here. Take a turn. Take a turn. You can take a turn.
Great, thank you. I've been waiting for this the whole time. I mean, I know I said, Chris, that I didn't want to drive, but I lied, and I'm really good at it. So
you are very good.
This is the smoothest ride I've actually been in this car. It feels like you're a professional driver. Oh,
I am. I'm classically trained.
Classically trained. I have never. What's going on down? Oh, your foot pedals and the way you're handling that is amazing.
Yeah. Thanks.
I might point out, however, that the bumps are still happening no matter who is driving. Perhaps my earlier criticism of your driving was in poor taste, and I apologize. It apparently is the road, not the one who is driving.
Maybe. I mean, it is getting dark, and it's so maybe we should just pull over for the night. Maybe we pull over.
Like over there? We should pull over there?
God, this is too dark.
Oh, we should pull over. Where are we going?
This is good. I can take the wheel from here since I've been here many times. So I'll take over from here.
All right, let's trade. That was really fun. I appreciated, having a chance to drive, and sure, the road's bumpy, but we're all together.
I want to share some. I want to share things.
I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. I can't hear what you're saying.
It's important that I share that I really have enjoyed each and every one of you, like as friends, as passengers, as comrades. I hope that the Grand Canyon really brings you all the luck and all the joy that it
The Grand Canyon! The Grand Canyon! The Grand Canyon!
Well done.
The Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon. The Grand
The Grand
Canyon.
Canyon.
The Grand Yay! You did it! You did it,
Well
JM.
done, JM.
You did it.
One would never know you were not a professional silly person.
I mean,
Really, look, we have it. We have everyone together, and I want to know, JM, you've been backstage, hanging with us for a little bit, playing with us, listening to Emily and Luke, and all the things that they have to offer as far as guiding us in transition, watching and actually performing improv. What are you taking away? Like, does any of this resonate with you and your work?
yeah, it really does. And I think for my work in particular, it was a nice reminder to encourage those other activists and advocates whom I had the pleasure of training to be cognizant of the transitions that they themselves not only are going through, but that they are attempting to lead others through, and to remember to provide the support that's needed. Sure, we at Normal provide the policy support, the data, the tools that they need to get it done. But we also hope that these leaders that we train are, become the support person, that the people to whom those in their state can look to help guide them through these processes. And it isn't just with data. It's sometimes just with being that human and that shoulder.
Ooh, these are things we like to hear. We just look at Emily, so proud, so proud. These are things we like to hear. Emily, I'm bumping it, bumps that spiking to you. Anything to add on to that?
Pack your snacks. Pack your snacks. Pack your friends' snacks. You wouldn't go hiking without snacks. But yeah, exactly all of that. And help others, because transitions are hard, and give yourself grace because transitions are hard. Fuel up. Pack your snacks and your teddy bear.
Excellent. Luke?
I love snacks. It's great. But also, like, I liked what Jim had said. You said about finding a sense of your own purpose with it, and be like, okay, like what, like, and getting a little perspective on the transition, and like, this transition is happening. And so, what steps do I need to take, to find another sense of my purpose with this transition. Okay. So I thought that was really cool.
Usually I don't circle back around to the journeyer, but I'm going to circle back around to you anyway, JM. Because there's two things going on here. I having you here today, for me, has you're representing two realms. You're representing the state and the people that you are transitioning, right? The state is transitioning and the people are transitioning. You're also representing people watching, like, as in, people are looking to you like, oh, this improv thing has nothing to do with anything. And this thought of transition, there's no way that I can learn from that. And when you just kissed it a little bit. You're like walking into a place, looking the way I do in this body means something. And I would love for you just to talk about that for people who are watching for inspiration. Just what are you saying to them?
I think we all move through life with expectations put upon us, and we believe them, and we believe what we're told, and we think we are headed toward a particular destination and in a particular manner. And hopefully for all of us along that journey, we discover who we really are, and decide if that the choices that were essentially imposed upon us are the right ones for us. I don't know that most people go through, to be incredibly on the nose, quite as drastic of a transformation. But I think we're all transitioning into the people that we are. Some of us more visibly than others, and me showing up in our public policy spaces and being who I am and looking how I am, even though it is not necessarily related to the job that I am doing. It's always making a statement when this walks in the room, and to be there and to be who I am is, it feels good. But there's always a little bit of anxiety that comes with it, and particularly here in Virginia, in Richmond, the former capital of the Confederacy. You just never know what you might encounter. So it helps to bring snacks and have my emotional support tie with me. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being serious, and thank you for playing with us today. Thank you for making that transition. That's a big deal to everybody on screen and everybody watching. There is a lot that you're doing, and we're really, really grateful to have you. Thank you, JM.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Luke. We will see you, Emily, Luke, and JM. We'll probably see you again at some point. But for now, see you later. See you later, the three of you.
Before we talk about how great this show has been, I want to just make sure we get that thank you train rolling and finish all those thank yous. We have thank yous to the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation. We have thank yous to all our journeyers who are watching live on YouTube. Please remember that if you're not a patron, you can become a patron and support this show. Shannon, can you tell them how to do that?
Yes, go to onandoffthestage.com. Go there. Yeah. There's a link. There's Patreon links.
Yeah, we have a show every month. We have lots of workshops and Mondays with you and Emily. And there's so much wonderful things to explore as a journeyer, and we would love them to get more involved. And because then they can do things like this show and meet people like JM and have experiences like this. Can I give you one of my big takeaway from all of this?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I was thinking of transitions before the show started. I was thinking of transitions like a door frame, like a thing, and that thing is there. But from the moment Emily started talking about it, from the moment I started doing exercises with Luke, I realized transitions is an active thing. It is a verb. It is you need to be active in it. Make choices, get support, endure what you can endure, change what you cannot, do all those things, move your body, find your emotions. It's so good to see something that can be so vulnerable and produce so much anxiety as a transition can, as rather than as a thing that's there, as something you embody and do. It's a wonderful reframing, and I really enjoy that. And I'm so glad I got to see and learn from my friends here.
Absolutely. What we're doing here is a big deal, Aaron. I love it. Right now, as far as improv goes, yes, it's the same that feeling of improv being a thing that's over there. It's not. It's a practice. And when we are in practice with improv, when we are practicing improv, all the things that you are talking about, moving your body, changing the things that you would like to see changed, leaning on your support system, all of those things we practice on and
off the
the
stage.
stage.
Yeah.
It's so good. Good night, friends and family. Good night, journeyers. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next month. And Emily and I will see you next Monday.
Bye.
I am Wendy Mitchell, the chief everything of the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation. This is my friend Alan. He's a bear. I have been operating the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation for more than 10 years. I got a whole bunch of stuffed animals from thrift stores and cleaned them up. I decided I would put them up for adoption. I do a lot of surgeries. We have children, we have adults, people of all ages. For a long time, my real art was writing songs. And I played a lot of music and I wrote a lot of songs. It felt important at the time, or it felt right. At some point, it occurred to me that my indie rock world was just not gonna reach as many people as I want. I don't think any of this was conscious. Basically, songwriting is really depressing, and especially the type of songwriting that I like to do. And I think it was right around the time that I kind of stopped writing songs that I started the Stuffed Animal Rescue Foundation. When you write something as a stuffed animal, people are more apt to read it and to care about it. It seemed like there was potential accidentally to maybe express things that I would have expressed through songwriting, but in a way that was accidentally approachable for a whole lot more people. But what's happened is this sort of weird journey where I started out being very serious about these very serious things, these very serious songs, and I've ended up being very playful. I guess I've gotten older and realized that it's kind of important to me to reach people that are not necessarily the people that I would have reached playing indie rock music.